Welcome to another edition of the A-List Podcast. I'm your host, Sherrod Blakely, joined once again by Kwani A, Lunis, and Gary Washburn. Gary, what's your middle name, G?
Yeah,
What's
tell
your
us,
full
tell us.
government name?
Hope it starts with an A.
It
No,
don't.
it doesn't. It doesn't. I ain't getting identity thefted in here. I'm none of y'all shysters.
You're not gonna tell us at all. We've
It's
divulged that information with our audience.
my middle name is Michael.
Oh,
Ah,
isn't that cute? Gary
cool.
Michael Washburn. Oh, isn't that sweet?
You sound like an
Special.
actor. That sounds like an actor name.
You think about Michael B. Jordan? That's what you're thinking about.
I didn't say it. Come on, I didn't say it.
Gary, you were thinking it too.
I set
I
myself
didn't
up.
say it. I didn't say it. I did not touch that.
We got a long history of Kwani and Michael B. Jordan.
We talked
Specifically,
about it last week.
I'm just trying to bring the people.
Some of
who
the commenters
going
said
to
they
it.
didn't understand the stories and our insights, so we
I
have to
saw
explain some
that.
things. We have to explain some things. So let's
Exactly.
be more, explanatory.
We'll
No, the
over everything.
Kwani, you explain to Michael B. Jordan because I want your story to be the story. Because if I tell it, Kwani, you don't want me to tell.
Yeah, I think I might have forgot. I need
In
a
1
reminder.
week, I think you guys should get your brains checked out if you forgot in 1 week the entire
I
story. I
forgot.
told the story. We were at a Celtics game. Michael B. Jordan was visiting his friend Kyrie, two Jersey guys, by the way. And Michael B. Jordan was taking pictures after the game, and there was like a line of people taking pictures with him. I knew all of them. And I was like with them, but I didn't want to take a picture. And then eventually I did because
Right.
then I felt like I was being rude by
We're
not
gonna
taking.
have to find the picture and post it, or
Yeah,
like
if you follow me if you find my Instagram, Kwani A Lunis, it is there. You just have to scroll a little bit, but the picture is online, and the two of them are very disappointed in the way.
I will say this. I remember the picture vividly, and Kwani is about as disinterested looking as you could possibly be. I
Because
mean,
the reason why
you
is
would think that she was standing next to like a D-list celebrity who just happened to have
no.
like 12 minutes of fame. This is Michael B. Jordan. He kind of even then he was kind of a big deal.
even then he was
They
kind of
took the
big.
picture when he was telling his friends that he could dunk out on the TD Garden floor, and I was looking at him saying, "No, you can't." So that was why I looked that way in the picture, because at that exact moment is when he was saying he could easily dunk, and I just didn't believe him in that moment. I still don't actually. I haven't seen him dunk.
But listen, before we go any further, we're just gonna dive right into what's going on. And Jayson Tatum
Ooh.
hit him with the 50-piece plus a wing, 51. Washington. Gary Washburn, we were both there. Gary, what was your takeaway from Jason's game? Because after the game, there was a lot of it felt like a lot of y'all do know I'm kind of nice vibes that I was getting from Tatum. I could be wrong, but I'm just curious. What was your takeaway?
Well, I thought the same shots that he was taking the last week were just going in. It was kind of crazy. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think he was taking any bad shots during the 20 streak of 20 misses, but for whatever reason, all of them were going in Washington. I thought it was honestly, a very important win for the Celtics. Like the Washington's kind of their peer at this point.
Oof.
The Wizards are kind of fighting for that to try to escape the play-in. So, and they coming off that really bad loss against Portland. So I thought it was good for them to win that game so resoundingly, and also for Tatum to kind of get his swagger back and to play like the player that people are saying you cannot touch him. He's going to be a cornerstone, a franchise player, because he makes it look at times so effortlessly, and he was unstoppable. Like Washington threw all types of defenders at him. He still got to the rim. He still was hitting the splash in the three. And it was just good to see, if you're a Celtic fan, him look so like he did last year as opposed to the struggles this year.
Yeah, you're right. Washington threw a lot of defenders at him, but here's the problem: they all kind of sucked. They weren't very good in the zone defense, and it was a great strategy because most teams are looking at the Celtics and be like, if we just hit them with a zone, we're good. And the Celtics finally started knocking down some shots. And yeah, Tatum had the big game, but other guys were stepping up, knocking down shots too. But I thought Washington in general, they didn't blitz Tatum as much as I thought they would. When a guy drops 31 on you in the first half, I'm trying to make this. Listen, listen. You have officially become Gary Washburn's middle name, Michael, as in Michael Jackson. I want Tito and Jermaine to make some shots. I need the other non-stars on your team to make some shots. Guys who are not don't have it cooking like you do.
First
Jason
of all,
Tatum.
Sherrod, let's not. Okay, you didn't touch a real sensitive topic with the Jacksons. My
I
favorite
know.
group of
I
all
did that,
time.
Gary. That was intentional because I
My
know how you
favorite
are
group of
about
all
them.
time. Let's not
I
talk
know
about
how you
Jermaine.
are.
Jermaine was mad talented. He was there. He was Scottie
He wasn't
Pippen.
Michael.
He wasn't Michael, but he wasn't Tito either. I love Tito too, but Jermaine, let's leave his name out of it. Jermaine was the man. So you're right. You got to make someone else beat you. And no one else, I mean, everyone else had a solid game. No one else, I mean, had a great game in terms of like scoring. I mean, Marcus Smart was a plus 36 in his 31 minutes. Jalen was here and there, kind of got going late when the game was kind of already decided. But I just thought it was a really good way to come back from that Portland game. I mean, they're going to look at the end of this season of all the games they blew, because that's a game, the Portland game, a game you got to win. Like, you cannot lose that game. That was one of the more deflating losses of the season. But for them to come back on the road, Washington had already beat them twice this year, but the Wizards, to me, looked a little less engaged than they did. They were hype in the first month and a half of the season. They, because they're just so desperate to win. They were looking good. They were tops in the East for a hot minute. Maybe they're like 13-6 or something like that.
Yeah.
And now they're under 500, and they just didn't really look interested. Like, Dinwiddie didn't look interested. Bradley Beal didn't look real interested. Like, that was a team that didn't look real engaged yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, they opened the season 11-5, and everyone was talking about how they've turned a corner. And then they turned the corner and realized, oh crap, we the same spot we was before. We still the Wizards. We ain't turned no. We are still the Wizards, the Izzards, as I like to call them, because W's don't come easy, but for them, clearly.
But Gary, in the Globe, you did write right after that Trailblazers loss about how the Celtics have been struggling with that zone defense. What do you think changed for them to turn around so quickly, and can they keep that momentum?
They hit shots. They made 3-pointers. Like, I think they hit 6 or 7 in the first quarter. Like, that's what you have to do. Like, you've got to hit shots. Or some people have suggested, for the people watching and who think they have theories about how to break a zone, I'd like to hear them, because some people will
I got theory.
Put Tatum in the middle at the top of the key and let him be like the facilitator, the guy in the middle. Like, it's an old reference, but like the Meadowlark Lemon, the guy who was just like running things, facilitating, let him do that. But the best way to beat the zone is the 3-pointer. And let's face it, most teams are good at shooting 3-pointers, or they have, good 3-point shooters on their team. The Celtics just hadn't had that, and then they've struggled from 3. And then when it gets down to I wasn't real happy the way like Ime kind of put it on Romeo missing a threes and Grant. It was just like, if you're dependent on Romeo and Grant down
That's
the
a problem.
stretch to hit threes, like, that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't put it on, well, they missed some shots they could have made. Yeah, but Romeo ain't got enough stripes yet to be like, okay, we're dependent on Romeo to bring us home. He's just a compliment. The same with Grant. If Grant hits 3 or 4 threes in a game, that's great. You're not expecting that. But Tatum and Brown have to hit 3-point shots, and it would help, but it's not likely that Marcus Smart and Schroeder hits 3-pointers.
Well, here's the thing. As someone who went to Syracuse, I've seen a lot of zone defense, and I've seen Kwani. Just relax. Listen here.
Go ahead.
Can I finish? You'll like this, Gary. I've seen lots of team torch that zone. And the one thing that teams that have had success against the zone do, they have a stretch big who can knock down a free throw shot. Because when you pass the ball at the center of the zone, now all of a sudden that zone has to collapse in some way if you've got a guy who can knock down a free throw jump shot. If you have Al or Tatum at that free throw line and you swing the ball to them, that defense is either going to suck in to actually get out of the zone, which is going to probably leave that baseline open for a lob pass. I just think that there are ways that you can attack a zone other than 3-point shot, because that shot's going to be there. And if you've got great shooters, that they're going to get out of that zone real quick because you'll be knocking those shots down. But if you don't have great shooters, you've got to attack that middle and force that defense to frankly reconfigure itself, because if you got a guy like Al Horford wide open at the free throw line, he's going to knock that shot down a lot. And it's going to force you to defend him in a way that your zone defense is not built to defend that possession. And when that happens, now all of a sudden that zone defense has to react to what you're doing as opposed to you reacting to the zone defense. That's all I'm saying, Gary. That's all I'm saying.
So moving
What
forward, though, how
go ahead, Kwani.
will teams continue to defend them that way, or do you think
Yes,
they're going to adjust?
yes,
Hell yeah.
yeah. They're going to use the zone. Here's the thing, too. Robert Williams, as much as he's a rim runner and he can be in the dunker spot, you would like Robert Williams to be at the top of the key, but he really isn't shooting. His jumper, his release is so slow that because you would like for him to get the ball at the top of the key and be able to either dribble drive, little short jumper, or dunk it, as opposed to like a Tatum. Like you would like the big man to be in the middle, kind of running those things, but he doesn't have that skill set yet to be at the top of the key and be like, oh, okay, you'll give me this 10-foot jumper. And I think Robert could shoot, but his release takes so long. He needs to quicken that release. He's got that, that type of release. When he gets time, he can hit it. I think that hurts him too, not having that real active, like kind of skillful big that, you can put Horford in the middle, but they hit 8 threes in the first quarter against Washington. That's going to break a zone because, and they hit 4 in the second quarter when the Wizards kind of came back, and then the Celtics made a run into the period to have a 15-point halftime lead. So, yeah, you hit 8 threes in the first quarter, and that's more than they've had in games over the last several weeks. They've been 11 for 46 and things like that. So you go, 8 for 14, I believe they went in the first quarter. That's going to break a zone, and that opens things up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but definitely, you're right though. I mean, Gary, their teams are they're licking their chops when they see the Celtics now because they know they got a defense that has given the Celtics problems all season long, and that's that zone defense. And they did a great job against Washington, obviously, and they should feel good about themselves. But can they do it again? Can they develop some type of consistency so that when teams go to that zone, they play so well that teams get out of it real quick? I don't know. I don't know if they can do that because up to this point,
50 from Tatum every night. So.
Oh, he's not gonna hit you with a 50 piece and change every night.
No.
So and Bradley Beal is not gonna have like 19 points every night.
Yeah.
I mean, so but in addition to Tatum's big game, it was also the return of Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart. He, I mean, as Gary pointed out earlier, I mean, his numbers, they didn't just kind of jump off the charts, but the team was clearly better when he was on the floor. I mean, I think it was plus 36 or something like that when he played, which is a ridiculous number, even in a blowout game for one guy to have who wasn't like scoring a ton of points to have that type of plus minus is impressive. And Marcus, in addition to his play, Marcus. He had some things to say to kind of get the guys going, and let's take a listen to just kind of Marcus just kind of talking a little bit about that.
Before the game, I told everybody, I pulled everybody aside right before the tip off. I just told everybody, I love them. I love all you guys. I'm here and proud, and really looking for everybody's success. I'm glad to be a part of everybody's success. I know obviously things haven't been going our way, but we just have to go out there and do what we know we ought to do. I pulled Jayson, Jalen, told them separately by themselves, and I went down the line with everybody on the team individually. Told them, I appreciate them, proud of them. This is what you do. Just go out there and do it and keep doing it. And I told Jalen and Jayson, keep playing. Don't worry about it. And I told Jayson specifically, I know you ain't hit a 3 in about 20 attempts, just keep shooting. I said, I'm going to make sure I find you. I'm going to get you going. I'm going to get you open. Just shoot the ball. Don't think about it. Don't worry about nothing else. Just play the game of basketball. Don't worry about anything else than playing the game. Play the right way. Defense gives you the shot, you take it. They give you the drive, you drive it. They come on your help, you make the right read, and we go from there. And him and Jalen, came out in the show today. So being able to take that control as the point guard and knowing and understanding my teammates was big, and it was something we needed.
That was beautiful.
I need a pep talk like that every morning. I think I'd be good.
I felt this is the thing, and I love everything he said.
Mm-hmm.
And and Kwani, you know this as well as anybody. I'm just irrationally supportive of Marcus Smart.
Yes.
1 for 21, and I'm still riding with him. Uh,
Okay.
I'm a clown him a little bit. I'm a crack on him a little bit, but
I was waiting for the butt. I get it.
I'm still riding with him. But here's the thing about what he said that I love everything he said, and I love that it in some way, shape, or form may have impacted these guys in a positive way. But what's going to happen the next game and the next game after that? Do you have to keep giving these type of pep speeches for guys to actually play their games? Does Jayson Tatum need to be told that take what the defense gives you every single game? Does Jaylen Brown need, that those type of encouraging words? And if they need that, then damn it, you need to bring it every game if that's what it takes. But I'm struggling to understand where this team is going, even when you have these kind of positive moments, because you don't get the sense of whether this is just a one night only type of thing, or is this something that can be sustained? I mean, does he have to do this game in and game out for them to get the best out of those guys? And if he does, then he needs to do exactly what he did before, the game in Washington. But I don't know if that's something that they need game in and game out. I'm curious your thoughts on that, Gary.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought that it was. I think what we've learned is that they are reading what's being written about them, and they understand their national perception that they are a majorly disappointing team, and they should be better. And they're reading Perk's tweets, and they're watching NBA Today, and they're seeing what people say about them, and saying that these guys, you just can't rely on them. They're not dependable. Split up Jayson or Jaylen, move forward, make a major deal, do whatever you got to do, clear the roster. They're hearing all this noise, right? And not to say that all these people are wrong, but they understand they're a 500 team. They've been a 500 team for a year and a half now. And I think, I think the us against everybody thing is something that I think it's this whole perception of everybody hates on you. Every person, oh, y'all hating on me. Everybody feels like they're being hated on. That's the new theme of our society. I got a bunch of haters,
Haters.
Yeah, somebody criticized you, you're a hater. Someone says this is what you can do better, you a hater. Someone says this is how you can improve, no, you a hater. You think I'm trash. Like, the thing is that
get it off your chest, brother Gary. Get it off your chest, brother
No,
Washburn.
I'm
Get
just
it
saying.
off.
So I think that that's what Marcus is saying. The galvanizing the teammates, the us against everybody. Will that work? We'll see. I think they're a team that gets along. I don't think they're a team that's got a lot of issues in the locker room and arguing and backstabbing and things like that. But I also think it's got to lay out in some consistency. Like, they've got to beat teams that they should beat. And we saw, I said, I can just keep pointing to that Portland game. You're up 189 to 89 with 6 minutes left against a team without several key players, not only Damian Lillard, but Norman Powell, and Larry Nance Jr., and you give it up. And that team knew we can beat these guys. And now Portland came back Sunday and beat Toronto. So Portland's not play. They beat Washington. So Portland isn't bad, but that's a game you have to win,
especially at home.
Yeah, to eliminate all the doubters, haters, people saying what's the hell's wrong with the Celtics. You can't, like, they got Sacramento Tuesday. Is that a cinch? You would think, but Sacramento came last year and beat the Celtics, right? And with the kind of the same team and the same kind of, like, no chance of making the playoffs type of record. So the Celtics have to be more reliable to themselves, not for the fans, not for the people who are critics. They have to do this for themselves. They got to want to be better and more consistent, because they got a chance in the East. They're 6.5 out of first with 34 games left. They're probably not going to win the East. Let's be honest. I mean, we all know that, but they can make a run to avoid the play-in, because right now the East is like the top 6 teams are starting to separate from the next 6.
Mhm.
right? So the sixth place is like Charlotte, and I think the Celtics are 3 or 4 games in back of
I know.
Charlotte.
Right.
Or so basically what we're having here is you're having like a kind of the things are separating. So it's more than just we see here. The Celtics are 4 games out of 6. Philadelphia is 6th, and they're playing good ball, right? Um, Cleveland's not going to drop. It doesn't seem like Cleveland's going to make that drop everybody expected. So the Celtics are going to have to put together a winning streak. Okay. 5, 6, 7 in a row. The next 3 games, Sacramento, then Atlanta, then New Orleans, 3 winnable
All
games.
winnable games.
Okay. Even at Atlanta, but Atlanta had that like 10-game home losing streak, but the Hawks are playing better. But you got to get 2 of those games at least. You got to start building and get away from 500 and put some momentum together. So I think Smart's trying to encourage his guys, but I think everybody knows that probably changes are going to come. Like they got 2.5 weeks before the trade deadline. Brad needs to do something. I think he understands because you look at the game Sunday, you look at this team's potential and everything is clicking, but everything was clicking. What about when it isn't? Can you still grind out wins? Do you need another shooter? Yes. Could you use another capable backup center? Yes. Do you need another swingman, defensive swingman? Yes. Like a lot of things on that list.
And that's the scary part about this team is that, typically when you hit the trade deadline, there's usually that one position, that one area of need where you can say, man, if we get that one thing, we gonna be all right.
They needed it a lot.
Not the case with these guys. They got lots of needs. And we're talking about Marcus Smart and just obviously, his words of motivation and his play against Washington. He's a name that we've heard, God, it seems like for the last couple of years when there's trade rumors and stuff. But the one thing that I think often gets overlooked with Marcus is that even though his numbers statistically may not be great, particularly this year, when he's on the floor, good things more times than not happen for these guys. And he's missed 9 games this year. They're 3-6 in those games, and I know they had other guys who were missing during that period of time, but he's that one guy that for whatever reason he's kind of a lightning rod where people want to almost like justify why the Celtics need to get rid of him. And I look at the numbers, and again, the numbers are not great, but the numbers for most of the Celtics this year, including Jayson Tatum, including Al Horford, you can go down the line, are not great this year. But to me, it's what happens when you aren't in the building. I'm looking at really determining just your value, not so much what you do in the games. And when they don't have Marcus Smart, they literally don't have any semblance of a point guard. The Schroeder is a great scorer in the backcourt, but he's not a point guard per se. He's a guard, and he's a good one. He's a good scoring guard, but he's not your traditional point guard, and neither is Marcus. But Marcus is the closest thing they have to that. That's why I think when he's playing, Tatum plays, I think, a little bit better because Tatum doesn't have as many of the traditional playmaking duties on his plate. He's got a guy that is when you look at this roster again, Marcus is about as good as you have on this roster. Now, does that mean that you don't go out and try to get something that's better? No, you look into that. You absolutely have to look into that. But for what you have now in terms of playmaking, he's as good as you got.
I don't want to give him all the credit, obviously, for the win, but when you talk about, like you mentioned, off the court stuff, when he's in the building, how he can motivate this team, I do think that emphasizes the value that he brings. But to Gary's point, we just need to see consistency out of them. If that means, like you said, giving a pep talk every game, then so be it. Because the Celtics, they know they need to get it together. But if Marcus Smart is that factor, as they call him, the heart and soul, then you're gonna have to make sure your heart and soul is in the locker room every game, even if he's not. Well, I guess if he's in COVID protocol, he can't. But overall, it just again further shows that he is valuable. The way he speaks into his teammates is important, and I think they're gonna need to keep him around as part of moving forward, how they continue to grow, because he seems to be the vocal guy that can do that and bring them together.
I would just like to see this from Marcus. Okay. I would like to see Marcus be more consistent, and I'd like to see him stop with the LaMelo. I think someone mentioned that, it wasn't me, with the LaMelo ball stuff. Stop with the fancy passes,
just fundamentals.
Now, Gary, that inbounds where he threw it off my man back and had to lay up, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. That was Gary, thug tear came down my face when I saw that.
I watched that play at least 50 times because I kept looking like
That was
Who did he
good.
pass it to? Am I
But then
tripping?
there's just times he gets himself in the air and he just trying to do too much. He tried, like
Sometimes
we
you have
all
to do
know Marcus is going to take. Sometimes you've got to play within yourself. You are not this spectacular playmaker. It's okay. Just be a playmaker. You're not LaMelo Ball, because LaMelo makes it the other night against Boston. He had 8 turnovers, right? Like, that's not clean basketball. That could cost you games. But fortunately for the Hornets, like, Rozier and those dudes were on, and they basically outscored the Celtics. But if you're smart, like, you got to be sensible with the ball. Don't take too many chances. Don't throw the long, baseball pass down the court that's got a 23% chance of getting through. If it gets through, it's a great play that could make top 10 highlight shows. If it's not, it's a turnover. Like, Marcus needs to take care of the ball better, in my opinion. Make the right pass. Don't make the crazy pass. And I think even yesterday, early in the first half, he was doing that LaMelo Ball, go in, try to do this, go behind his back, be cute. Don't be cute, Marcus. Make the right play. I know you want to, make the fans go woo and turn heads, but just make the right play. If he does that and stays with him in himself, because Marcus has been guilty for 7 years of trying to do too much. Marcus is always trying to do too much, be too much of a shooter, be too much of a scorer, be too much of a magician on the court. Just no, Marcus. Just put the ball where it needs to be. Do your dirty work, the good plays, the defensive steals, flopping every now and then to get a shot. That's you. Do that. But stay within yourself and make the sensible right play, and the Celtics will be a better team. It's when he gives the ball away, because this team has a bad habit of giving possessions away. They do too much silly stuff with the ball, and Marcus is kind of the leader of that.
I wish, you know what, Gary, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree with you on this one. And here's why. I love the fact that he's trying to do much. I wish more guys tried to do more than what they're capable of doing. Because to me, you're increasing the likelihood of something positive happening. Because right now, if you do exactly
something negative, they 500, Sherrod, something negative. Like, something negative.
Gary, it's not on
worked
him.
out.
But Gary, if you got one guy who's trying to do too much, and other guys who are trying to, we kind of doing what I guess we supposed to try to be doing. No, I want to try something different. And to me, trying to do more is better than trying to do less.
No,
I don't know.
Not trying to do more.
I mean, I know that's like profound words and thoughts I just dropped.
That wasn't that deep. I think with Marcus, for this team specifically, I don't think he can afford to do more because they don't have enough people that can.
That's a different conversation.
I will say that's why I'm like slightly in the middle from both of you, because I do want to see him do the most, but that's only when the team can afford those extra fancy passes and extra moves, because they have, consistent scoring or consistent passing, whatever the case may be. Right now, this roster, that's the only time I don't want to see it, because they have a lot of work to do on the fundamental side, and they don't have time for the flashiness.
I'll say this much. I think his timing could be better, and I think that maybe he needs to ratchet in a little bit. But I love the fact that he goes into every game trying to do more than he's expected to do or supposed to do. I wish more guys cared about the game that much, where they try to do more than they were supposed to do. I mean, listen, take you back to Detroit when I covered the Pistons. Rip Hamilton, we all know Rip for that mid-range game, right? That's his thing, right? Rip at one point decided, you know what? Let me see if I can knock down this 3 ball, and let me find a spot that I can actually make it from. And you know what he did in the 1 year where he focused on that? He led the freaking league in 3-point shooting percentage. It's like one of those. It would be if that is the answer to a question on Jeopardy, you are going to win the money, because no one is going to get that right. Rip Hamilton actually led the league in 3-point shooting percentage. And you know what he did? He took like 95% of his threes from that left corner, because that was a sweet spot. Yeah. Trying to do more is not a bad thing. But to your point, Gary, I see where you're coming from. Sometimes he does get a little out of control with it a little bit. I get that. But I would much rather have a guy who's trying to do too much and help us win than other guys who are just kind of stone cold chilling like bro man on the corner, wait for that sandwich to get down on the third floor.
I think we have a misunderstanding of what doing too much is. Okay. I'm not saying Marcus doesn't need to play really, really hard and go all out and do. I'm saying like, I'm gonna take 10 threes. What was the other game? He took 10 threes in the first half. Like, no, Marcus, no.
Fans hate that too.
You do not need to be taking 10 threes in a game. Like, he took 6 threes in the fourth quarter collapse against the Knicks in New York. He took 6 threes in the fourth quarter. No. Like, unless it's one of them rare nights where you got it right, you on, okay. No, with the like Mutombo. No.
But to Sherrod's point, if no one's scoring, then why not shoot your shot?
No,
Literally,
Mark, that's what's got him here. That's what's got him here is Marcus is like, F it. That's the problem. That's what Brad needs to address. F it. I'm okay. Y'all need another
balance for me.
Y'all need somebody to score. I'll do it. Like,
we are going to have to agree to disagree on Marcus Smart
I
consistency.
think doing too much is, to me, the overly fancy passes, the stuff that's just like whipped cream, making the low percentage long lead.
Whipped cream's a good thing.
I love whipped cream.
You gotta get whipped cream, Gary.
Because the Celtics.
Why are you coming out whipped cream now?
The Celtics mess off a lot of possessions with careless passes, unforced turnovers. How many unforced turnovers does Marcus have? Not somebody stealing the ball from him and ripping him. That's a forced turnover. But tossing it and someone stepping in the pass lane because Marcus threw a careless pass, or Marcus tried to do something behind the back, or Marcus, like, and he'll do that, my bad, or, like, no, man, no more my bads. Like, don't do that stuff, because every possession is important, especially when this team has a lead. When they get that 11-point lead, they tend to start messing possessions off, just like against Portland, where you saw that Portland game, they took the lead. The 11-point lead with 7:19 left in the game. Portland didn't score for almost 2 minutes. So it wasn't like Portland came back with a couple of bam threes and it was a 5-point game. Like, Portland was like, beat us. Like, Portland didn't score for a minute plus before McCollum hit a 3 off the inbound, then all from the corner in front of the Celtics bench, and all of a sudden he hit another one, and it was a 6-point game. You're like, uh-oh, the Celtics just blew possessions after that. Like, that's what I think if Marcus is your leader, he can't blow possessions that way. And that this team is, and it's not only Marcus, but he is the leader of, if he's your floor leader, he's got to be like, no more blowing bad possessions, blowing possessions.
We're going to bring in our good friend Kyle Draper, who got his real start in Boston. He was a nobody before he came to Boston, but he came to Boston and then he blew up. Let's bring in our good friend Kyle.
Wow.
That's blew up.
Man.
nice to see you guys.
I tried to hide my Christmas tree.
Intro is that.
All I know is
friend.
It's good. All I know is Sherrod must still be paying off those student loans because he got the Syracuse behind him. You know what I mean? So he's still paying off those student loans.
Actually, they paying me, but that's another story. That's another story for another day.
That I tried to hide my Christmas tree still being up, and yet this shot now exposes me all the way. So
Kwani's still waiting on those gifts. That's what that is. She's still hoping for some gifts to be under there.
Is that Kwani's trying to send like a subliminal message about, my birthday's in like a couple weeks.
Oh yeah, my birthday is February 15th.
15th. Okay.
So she's trying to send the message. What's going on, Kyle Draper? What's going on with you, bro?
No, I'm good. I'm looking at G. Wash, newly married over there. He's like, honey, I'll get to it in a minute. Look at it. It's good. I miss you guys. I'm going to keep it real. I miss you guys. Gary got that married look on his face, right? You know all about that, man. He's like, man, I got to do something after this. I got to go to the store. I got to get some milk or something. But it's all
Drapes is that's Drape's life. He's what he's talking about. He's giving you what's behind the curtain of Drape life. I get it.
That's true.
I tell you what though, man. We've been watching your team, Sacramento Kings, play probably more than we should. I ain't alone. I know the Celtics ain't alone. Y'all got some nice pieces over there. The record is obviously not great. I think you guys have lost 3 or 4 in a row or something like that.
Don't worry about that. It's not about that.
No, it's about the talent. Y'all got some ballers. Y'all got some ballers who might be on the move.
So is that what you brought me on here to talk about, Sherrod?
Yeah, just to talk
coaching the Sacramento Kings roster.
I want you to talk
which guys can we get here in Boston?
I want you to talk about these players because those players may be on the move, and you see them on a day in, day out basis. So when I talk about a guy like Harrison Barnes, I mean, we've known him from all the way back to college and at Golden State, obviously, and out in Sacramento. As a player, what's he bringing to the table? Because I mean, he seems to be like just a real solid player, solid citizen type.
Yeah. No, you just said it, man. Pencil him in for 15 to 18 points per game every single night. He's a guy that doesn't need the ball. Is a guy that's going to be the first one in the gym, the last one to leave. He's a consummate professional. And I've always said, you know, Harrison Barnes can fit in on any team, any system, any roster, any scheme. The dude is just a flat out solid ball player. And I think he's a coach's dream. And so in Sacramento, he's having a career year when you look at his 3-point percentage. So he's can knock down the three. He can play great defense. And so, no, man, he's a great locker room guy. You know, the one thing about Harrison, he's not that vocal. You know, he's not a rah-rah kind of guy or anything like that. But you know what you're going to get from him night in and night out.
Sounds like a younger Al Horford. Not different player, but as far as like the off the court and demeanor and that type of stuff.
Yeah. And you know, I love Al Horford. So, you know, 5-time All-Star. So, yeah.
What about the Foxy one? Mr. Fox.
Man, you going right at the top, huh? You
coming I'm coming. Hey, Drapes, I decided to take the cookies from the bottom shelf and put them on the top shelf for you.
Here's the thing about De'Aaron Fox. Great player, young talent. The Kings aren't just going to give him away, Sherrod. You know, you sending me back. You sending me back Tatum? You sending me back Jaylen Brown? I mean, because if I'm Monty McNair, the conversations would have to start with Jaylen Brown. And I told somebody the other day, I don't see the pieces the Celtics can offer outside of their big two. And Tatum, to me, is off limits. We know that, right? Tatum ain't going anywhere. And so unless you're talking Marcus Smart, if I'm Monty McNair and I see Brad Stevens on the line, the first words out of Brad's mouth better be Jaylen Brown. If not, I'm hanging up on him.
Now, Drapes, this other guy I want to ask you about, and I know you can go on and on about this because full disclosure, I'm going to just let everybody know this. When Kyle Draper was in Boston, Buddy Hield was his guy. Draper was on the Buddy Hield train before anyone cared about Buddy Hield.
I give you that, Drapes.
But the thing about it, Drapes, here's the thing about Buddy Hield, though, Drapes. Buddy Hield is damn near old as us. So I can understand why you were so cool with him.
Oh, my God.
I can understand that.
Right. we graduated high school the same year. You're right. No, here's the thing and why I was so high and still am high on Buddy Hield. Shooting. I mean, think about it. Every NBA team needs shooting. And this is a guy that can win you several games throughout the year just by getting hot from 3-point range. And so we do know the Kings tried to trade him on draft night. Thought they had a great deal getting Montrez and Kyle Kuzma. That would have been a huge move from Monty McNair. But I don't know about Buddy's future in Sacramento. And I think he'd help a lot of teams. I think, you know, when you look at the Celtics, what's been their Achilles heel? They go through wild, cold spots, cold droughts. You know, it's like, you know, 3 of 42 from 3 or something, you know. And so he would definitely help in that. And, you know, Buddy has improved his defense, too. Let me say that. I'm not saying he's locking it. He ain't Bruce Bowen or anything like that. He ain't locking the Ben Wallace out there, Ron Artest or anything, but he gives the effort. And so, you know, if you look at Sacramento, they got to make a move probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to do something. And so I know teams are calling and I know Monty McNair is answering, but Buddy would be a solid 6-man, I think, for the Celtics, a scorer coming off the bench.
And they desperately need a guy who can knock down shots. Because we were talking earlier in the podcast about, you know, some of their needs. And they could use a playmaker. They could use another big. They could use another shooter. But I think of all those things that they are clearly in need of and could benefit from, shooting is the one thing I think they could get at the trade deadline potentially that can help them both in the short and long term. But it's got to be the right fit. It's got to be the right guy. And it's got to be the right guy that doesn't cost them, frankly, they're pillars. And I think, you know, obviously Jayson, he ain't going nowhere. Jaylen, I'd be shocked if they even took a call for him. And right now, when he's healthy, you know, Time Lord is a difference maker when he's healthy. And that's, to me, that's the one guy that if you're Brad, you're going to have to hit the pause button when they say, we want Time Lord for this guy, because you know that Time Lord is going to be really good. And you know he's going to be that dude, if you trade him, he's going to come back and bust your ass every chance he get. He's going to put 20, 10, and 5 on you. 5 blocks,
Gary,
5
hold
assists.
on. Gary, you buying what Sherrod is saying right here, man. That Time Lord is virtually untouchable. That's what you're telling me, Sherrod.
I'm saying they will think about it a little bit longer and harder than they would pretty much everyone after him on the roster. That's what I'm saying. Listen, Tatum and Brown are at one spot, and Time Lord to me is in that. I got to think about this one for a minute.
Yeah.
Here's what I wanted to ask you, Kyle.
I see what you're doing, Drapes.
You've been around. You've been around Sacramento now a year and a half, 2 years and a half, 2 years.
A little more than a year, bro. This is my second season. Yeah, I left in December of 2020.
That was like 10 years.
Okay.
No, it's like being in a bad marriage. It's like, man, I feel like 50 years now, But bro, it's only been 14 months, man. Come on, bro.
You've been around now. You've seen for 2.5 seasons. They're 18-30, but they have. I mean, they're not Oklahoma City. They're not literally Orlando. This team has freaking talent. Mm-hmm. Halliburton, Fox, freaking Buddy Hield, Rashawn Holmes. The Celtics would
Harrison Barnes.
Harrison Barnes.
Harrison Barnes. Why the hell they don't win? Why aren't they 20 instead of 18-30? Why aren't they 24-24? Why aren't they like fighting for a spot? Like this.
Why aren't they like Memphis?
Yeah. Why aren't they like? Why do they win?
It's obvious. You guys just said it. You guys. Washburn, you just said, why aren't they fighting for a spot? Sherrod, how come they aren't Memphis? Memphis has those dogs, And that's why I wanted Marcus Smart last year. I thought Marcus Smart, forget all his flaws. The dude is a gamer. He's landed on the line. He's trying hard every single night. And when you look at the Kings, sometimes they don't have that fight in them. You punch them in the mouth. And they sort of dazed and confused a little bit instead of counter punching, And so they need some dogs.
That's why they drafted like Marcus Smart Jr. and Davion Mitchell.
Right.
Like what? Like that ain't worked either.
Yeah.
Gary, it's 45 games into the season. You expect him to come in and be like Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett and change the franchise's culture, big fella. Give him some time.
It's the
they
same.
They should be winning 50 games this year, Drake. So you know it. They should be winning 50 games. That's what Gary.
I'm just saying, like every year, like I just think you're right, Drake. The Kings have to do something because it ain't working. Remember when they got Halliburton? Oh, him and Fox are gonna make a dynamic duo in the backcourt. Okay. They got Buddy Hield's an elite shooter. Marvin Bagley, when he gets healthy, he'll be fine. Harrison Barnes, you can't part with him.
Washburn, hold on.
Like, what are we doing here? 18-30.
No, man. They should be better. I agree with you. Yeah. But like, don't act like Davion Mitchell was supposed to come in here and change everything. Be Steph Curry all of a sudden. Or that Tyrese and Fox are supposed to be Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. How long did it take Steph Curry to win?
5-6 years.
Oh, okay. But so give it time, big fella. Give it time.
They should be Cleveland. Look at what Cleveland's done.
Give Cleveland.
Put a lot of young dudes together.
But look at
Cleveland. Garland is your De'Aaron Fox. They put a lot of dudes. They drafted well, and the Kings. Halliburton's a good draft pick. He ain't no bust.
But this is his second year. This is second year.
The Marvin Bagley thing, that was a problem.
That hurt him.
Luka. Like that's never gonna. That's on Vlad. It's on Vladdy's tomb. That's on his resume, his tomb, all that for passing up Luka.
Damn, his tomb.
He's still alive.
Vladdy did not draft.
I'm just saying, he's rolling over in his grave like, damn, I should have freaking taken Luka.
Man. But let me say this, and you talk to people within the Kings organization. Talking about the GM, all that's in the past. Right now, they're trying to focus Gary on Monty McNair, who's in 15 months in the job.
You bring up old stuff, okay, Smoke.
I know you bringing up old stuff. Dude,
you talking about old girls? What you talking about?
The best argument? Why you bring up old stuff?
No, all I'm saying is they are underachieving. Yes.
Okay.
But the jury is still out on Fox and Halliburton. Look at Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You guys ready to break that up, and they're in year 5 or whatever it is. These dudes are in the second year together. And so I think when it comes to chalk and trades, they're going to give it time between those two. I don't think
already fired the coach. Gentry's not the long-term answer because they haven't improved much with Albert Gentry. So to me, like, what does Sacramento do? Like, they are the warning. They are the like complete example of what bad can happen when you do the young. We're gonna draft a bunch of young dudes and let them all grow together. Because remember, it was Tyreek. It was Tyreek and DeMarcus, and then it was like they've had 3 or 4 waves of young special guys, and it ain't worked. And you
got to get them right though. But
you got a bunch of dudes in that roster. Drake, Rashawn Holmes is the guy I love. I love that dude. Right. That dude plays hard 100% of the time. So we were talking last year after they came in and beat the shit out of the Celtics, and you were like, they playing harder. It was Rashawn Holmes that won them that game. Like, they got him. Like, what's going on? Like, what? Like, to me, the Sacramento Kings need to do something because this ain't working.
They got to do something.
And it's the
But
West.
It ain't going to be with Fox and Halliburton, Gary. It's not going to be with Fox and Halliburton. I'm telling you.
You don't ask for the world for Harrison Barnes. Like, you get them 2 dudes off and you just go young then. And then let Davion
How about this? On February 11th, the day after the trade deadline, if the Kings don't make a move, then you could come at me and say, what are they doing, Drapes? What's happening? You don't think Monty McNair, you know what? It's not working. Of course, trust me, I think they're going to make a move. I don't think it's going to be with the big names, though. I don't think it's going to be with Fox and Halliburton. I just don't see it. I mean, I was telling somebody, to me, Halliburton, when you talk about the roster they have, he's part of the future. They're not just giving up on Tyrese Halliburton.
I'm not saying trade Halliburton or trade. I don't think they should trade Fox, but everybody around them, and you keep Mitchell, he's a rookie, but everybody around them, it just seems like it's a culture of like, well, we'll get him next year. And then it's like, there's nothing to do in Sacramento. It's not a great city in terms of not to live. But
you crazy. Hey, you ain't hung out with me yet, big fella. I'll take you to some spots.
Okay. Next, you know me. Whenever we go out there again, it's not a city that's going to attract the hell out of free agents. So Monty McNair has to be like, he has to make shrewd moves to get dudes in there that want to play in Sac. And then you got to get a good coach.
Let me ask you real quick. If Monty McNair would have made the Kuzma-Montrezl Harrell trade, would that have been a good deal for Buddy Hield?
Yes.
So he did make the trade. Lakers pulled out at the last minute because they wanted Westbrook. And obviously that turned into a fail. Give Monty some credit. Like, I agree. February 10th comes, you got to improve the roster. You got to do something, right? But this whole, it's just Sacramento, what's going on? The dude tried to make moves. He made a hell of a trade, if you ask me. Getting Kuzma and Montrez? Oh, my gosh. Whew.
That would have been so good.
Okay,
that would have been so good.
Let's flip
it. Go ahead. What you got, Kwani?
The Kings are sitting at 12 in the West. That's not a great place to be. But from your perspective, what has been a positive? What maybe is a strength?
Oh, Kwani.
I like that. That's
what do you bring to the table? I'm just curious.
Kwani, me and you could do a podcast any day. You like to look on the
now you want to work with her.
Hey,
now you want to work with her.
Because let's be honest, whatever that strength is, the Celtics could probably lose to them solely based off of that.
Totally.
Hey, we saw it last year. We saw Celtics get swept last year by the Sacramento Kings. And so, I think the Kings' strength, Tyrese Halliburton, he's a gamer. When you talk about one of the positives, the dude is a 20-10 guy. When De'Aaron Fox missed those games, Tyrese had 4 straight games of 20-plus points, 10-plus assists. And so the thing about the Kings, when they get hot, they're tough to beat. And so it's sort of like a snowball effect down. They can drop 120, 130 on you in a heartbeat. The scary part about the matchup with the Celtics, and this will be fun to watch, is both teams have trouble closing teams out at the end of the game. You know what I mean? So if somebody has a big lead, like if the Celtics are up 20, which I know they've blown those leads in the past, I think, they'll win that game. But if it's close, man, it's like whichever team, doesn't make the most mistakes down the stretch. And also, quiet as it's kept, De'Aaron Fox, for the most part, has been playing some great basketball over the last month. He had a couple games there. He missed last game. Hopefully he's back on Tuesday. but he's a star. Rashawn Holmes is back. And so, we got Tristan Thompson too. Your boy, Tristan Thompson is out here. So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that reception on Tuesday when he's back in Boston. And so there's some pieces, but back to Washburn's point too, Kwani, it's like this team is underachieving. There's no way they should be worse than they were a season ago. And that's what's happening. And I think it's driving Alvin Gentry crazy. It's driving everybody crazy. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, but it's as sad as much as you don't want to acknowledge it. It's kind of become their culture to be underachieving. Like in the last decade or so, they've had some decent teams that were talent-wise good enough to be a playoff team, but for whatever reason came up short. And they've got to figure out a way to change that culture. And it's not just about getting talent; it's about just finding a way to get folks to not just think they can win, but actually go into games and go into season expecting to do it, which I don't think they're at.
Yeah, and when you look at it too, look at the names that have played for the Sacramento Kings. Like, when you look at it, they've had some, whether it's Rondo or Rudy Gay or DeMarcus or Vince Carter, like, they've had some names come through, but nobody ever changes the culture. And it makes me wonder, well, when you look at it, think about it. They've had, 11 coaches in the last 10 years or something like that? It's been 11 coaches in 12 years. So you need that stability, man. You need to say, you know what? This is our GM. This is our coach. And we're going to let it ride for 3 to 4 years. And so obviously Luke Walton didn't work out, but I think this GM, Monty McNair, I think he's the right guy. We just got to let him do his thing. I mean, this is second full season. Think about it. Let's talk about the Celtics. Danny Ainge, as great as Danny was, how long did it take him, Washburn, to turn things around? You had to get 1 kg. You get 1 kg. Look at Phoenix. You get 1 Chris Paul, and that's what the Kings need. They need that unifying leader, that culture changer that they don't have right now.
Well, who's going to come to Sacramento to do that? You're going to have to draft that dude.
Besides you, who's going to Sacramento voluntarily?
Hey, man, I'm doing my part, big fella. I told Alvin Gentry, I just talked to Alvin. I said, as whatever part I'm doing, I'm out here trying to change things. But look at it. KG was a trade, Kwani. Chris Paul wasn't a free agent signing. Chris Paul was a trade. And when Phoenix traded for Chris Paul, everybody was like, oh, man, they're taking on this $40 million. Please. So the Kings would need to do something like that. Take a gamble on a savvy vet that has, playoff experience and is a culture changer. The problem is those guys just don't grow on trees. It's not.
They don't grow on trees, and those trees don't plant roots in Sacramento. Because Drapes, think about it. Convincing Chris Paul to go to Phoenix, convincing Chris Paul to go to Sacramento, which is the easier sell?
Hey, I'll tell you what, Sacramento's just like Boston. And clip this and put it out there to tease your podcast. Hey, KG didn't want to come to Boston at first, but then he came here and fell in love with it.
Decade.
The same thing with Sacramento. You come there, Chris Webber, a legend in Sacramento. My guy, Doug Christie, Mike Bibby. Talk to all the guys that have come through Sacramento and played. They tell you that fan base, man, is amazing.
It deserves better. And they built a new arena for those chumps, and they still can't win.
No, hey, I'm not here for this. I'm not here for this King slander, Washburn. I'm not here for this King slander.
Kyle.
And then name the street after David Stern. It's on David Stern. Like the Kings, David Stern was like, I'm gonna let y'all.
They went all in.
They went all in. The team in Sacramento, if you build an arena and name the street after me, the Kings like, okay. Like
Gary's been waiting to get this off his chest, so I'm glad he's.
No, you know what it is, Kwani. See. Yeah. Gary's worried about all the other stuff. He want to know where he could go partying after games. He want to know what name the street is. I'm talking about basketball, big fella. I'm talking about inside that building. And as you know, Washburn, growing up in California, when the Kings were rocking, it was the most difficult place to play. That fan base was rabid.
Then you got
cowbells ringing and everything.
The Kings basketball is so disgusting. You got fans vomiting on courtside.
Drakes, I'm sorry. I didn't know Gary was
You know what it
like
is?
this.
The Kings.
Dude had a good time though. Dude had a great night. Let's not act like y'all ain't been out and vomited once or twice in your careers. Hey, it happens to us all at some point.
Not on the court.
Wow, that was crazy. I'm not blaming the Kings. I'm not blaming the Kings for that. But my point is that it seems like the Kings have to do something. But like the Celtics at times, they hold on to their assets, like their asking price for Harrison Barnes. Like it can't be so steep. Like you're right, Drake. They've got to take some chances. Get some young guys, maybe get a guy. And I thought Tristan Thompson would help with leadership. Now, obviously, he's got a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah.
Kwani.
I need to
but
some water.
You would think you would have thought that Tristan, and I saw a couple of his press conferences when Sack, he was keeping it real with the guys, but it sounds like, you got to get someone like him who's actually engaged and who could actually really still play, because it doesn't sound like he's playing all that much.
Right. He's not playing much. And you need more of those guys too, That's the biggest problem, accountability, not from the coaching staff, but from each other. You know what I mean? Like, losing has to suck. You got to hate losing. And they haven't shown me that losing bothers them yet. We hear it in the practice, post-game press conferences, Harrison Barnes down, De'Aaron Fox, but then we see the same things. And so that's why I thought Marcus Smart, man, last year, not necessarily this year, because you got Davion, you got, your backcourt is pretty much set. But I thought Marcus Smart would really help this team because he does all the things that don't show up in the box score. And sometimes, you know what? You need somebody to throw a clipboard, or you need somebody to get into a fist fight or challenge each other on the sidelines or something like that. So you need somebody to make sure things ain't sweet every single day. Like, losing sucks, man. And so you need somebody that can bring that energy. And right now they don't really have that.
Yeah, and you get a firsthand view of that every night.
All I know is, since I've been in Sacramento, we're 2-0 against the Celtics.
Ooh,
that's all I know.
Shot fired.
So I'm undefeated. My squad is undefeated.
Okay.
We'll see
So your
on
new
Tuesday.
team. So your new team is obviously handling their business. Okay.
Exactly.
When
they know how much this game means to me on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Come
Clearly,
on, man.
Clearly, they're playing for Drake. That's what it is. They're playing for Drake.
Kyle Draper comeback game.
Listen, Washburn rolling his eyes.
We can do this all
Draper comeback
day.
game. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
The comeback game.
I can't wait to see
Draper
y'all
game.
at the game. I
I
can't
want to see
wait.
that Kyle Draper tribute video.
Oh no.
Oh, what if they did have one? That would be crazy.
I should put.
I might actually.
Kwani,
do
Get
it.
write
a
that out.
PR real quick.
I know. Hey, shoot Rich Gotham or somebody a text real
let's
quick.
get some
Set
kind
that
of
up.
Have a two shot of you and Tristan. That's what we want.
No, what if he gets one?
I'm thinking a two shot. Drake and Tristan.
Split it perfect.
Yeah, me and Tristan. Exactly. That's my guy.
We could do this all day, but obviously we ain't got all day. I know Kwani's got stuff to do.
I do. We want to talk
What you
about
gotta
it.
do, Kwani?
Kwani,
Yes.
talk about what you got going on.
Yeah, what you got going on?
Now that you can talk about what you got going on, now that you know what you got.
I know what I'm talking. See, they always make fun of me, Kyle. You need to come back to Boston.
Kwani's going to talk about this thing she's about to do, and when we asked her about it last week, she didn't know exactly what it was she was going to be doing.
Because I hadn't read it.
She did her research. She ready now.
She's
ready
my
now.
research. But
ahead,
if
Kwani.
you're watching this by now, it should have aired. The Celtics are hosting a panel, Celtics United, on mental health, specifically in the Black community. I'll be moderating with a bunch of professionals, local medical professionals here in Boston. So I'm sure there'll be a link online somewhere for you guys to catch the replay of it.
Absolutely. And you can find, and Gary Washburn, he's got his court sense, good stuff in there. I liked your story about Marcus Smart, and just his, message to the team, which is kind of jiving what you talk about, Drapes, about him being able to, give you some of those intangibles that you want in terms of leadership and kind of right the ship and all that. And, I'm doing my thing, Ebony, Bleacher Report,
Facebook,
CLNS Media.
In living color.
I'm
12 jobs. What?
I'm that dude. I am that dude.
He really is.
I am that dude. But also before we head out, though, I wanted to also just touch on real quickly. I mean, obviously this week a lot of people are thinking about Kobe Bryant, the 2-year anniversary of his passing, and I am as well. But I'm also thinking about the 1-year anniversary of Zeku Smith, someone that we know well. In fact, he and Kobe died on the same day, 1 year apart.
Wow.
So he's definitely been on my mind, which is why I am rocking my Zeku Strong t-shirt today.
Okay.
So that's what that's about. So, but yeah, I wanted to end it on that note because again, we there's a lot of stuff going on in this world today, and we really need to, hold our friends as tight as we can. Let them know how we care about them, we love them when we can. We had, and Kwani, you remember this? We had Zeku on this podcast like the week before he passed away.
Wow.
And so that was very kind of tough for me on a personal level, just because I've known Zeku longer than I've known any of y'all. He was one of my day ones. So thinking about him this week, and then thinking about Kobe as well, obviously, and thinking about Drapes and his little 2-0 record against the Celtics coming to an end. That's coming to an end. We need to kind of just filter that little nugget out there. Like, you do know that y'all. Yeah. The Kings have whipped y'all ass every single time they play since Drapes left.
It's
so
Kyle.
Marcus, you just might want to. I'm just saying, that might be part of your message to your team. That might be part of the pep talk.
Hey, my boys will be ready. And let me say this real quick too, guys. Washburn, if you travel, you too, Sherrod, if y'all come to the game in March in Sacramento, don't run back to San Francisco after the game, because that's what they do, Kwani. They drive up there the game, and then they drive back to San Francisco. Stay in Sacramento. I'll show you the hot spots, like I always did in Boston. I'll do it to you for you out there as well. We'll hang out.
I just want to make sure we go somewhere where there's no tumbleweeds in the middle of the road. Because Sacramento is the only city I've ever been in the NBA where I literally saw a big fat wad of tumbleweed just rolling across the street.
I got you. Trust me. Sacramento is on and popping.
I want a live report from whatever you guys. Well, from the beginning.
Sacramento was not on my playlist of cities in the spring.
Hey, come in March. I got you.
We'll see. I'm gonna take a look at the calendar, see if we can squeeze a little King action in there.
All right. Okay.
Kwani, close us out.
Wait, before we close out, Kyle, have you been up to anything? Do you have any extra jobs that you want to pub as well?
Cracking on me?
No, I'm not that.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything going on. It's kind of quiet. I did some college bass. Huh?
You still do Cameo?
I did. I got to do one tomorrow. So I'm on Cameo. Hit me up. I got to do one. I'm going to do it from the Garden as well. What else I got going on? I'm going to Atlanta. We play in Atlanta on Wednesday. So I'm going to go to the Sekou Smith, media center down there, the press room. So it'd be cool to see that.
How long are you staying in Atlanta?
Just one night, big fella.
Okay.
That's Atlanta can only handle me one night.
I'm getting Thursday. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all play Atlanta, don't y'all?
Yeah.
Oh,
Friday.
Man, I'm going to miss y'all. I'm going back to Sac on Thursday.
Okay.
All right. But we'll catch up in Sacramento, right?
I'm going to look at the calendar and see.
I'll hold you to it.
Cool.
Well, this was a great episode. Thank you, Kyle, for giving us some of your valuable time because, you're so busy.
Valuable.
But for Sherrod Blakely and Gary Washburn, I'm Kwani A. Lunis. This is the A-List Podcast. As always, if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to do so. And we'll be back next week with another episode.